Thanks to the host, the UN Global Compact Network of Korea, the Korea Sustainability Investing Forum, and to the initiative sponsors for inviting us to do this special speech. My organization, Transparency International, is a global anti-corruption movement with a presence in 100 countries around the world. I am Rocio Panagua, Head of Business Integrity, which belongs to the UK Policy and Programmes of the UK chapter of Transparency International. Our vision is a world in which governments, businesses, civil society, and the daily lives of people are free of corruption. Our mission is to stop corruption, promote integrity, and, to that end, hold power to account for the common good. We have found that whilst transparency is increasingly becoming a norm in the corporate world, meaningful disclosures, particularly around governance and anti-corruption, remain limited. It is with this in mind, and in order to fill the guidance gap, that TI UK, Transparency International UK, has developed Open Business. This report responds to the need for practical and implementable guidance on corporate anti-corruption, which recognizes transparency dilemmas while still aspiring to the highest possible standards. The 5 high-risk areas Open Business address are anti-corruption program transparency, corporate political engagement, in other words, political contributions and lobbying, beneficial ownership transparency, organizational structure transparency, and country-by-country payments transparency. We launched our report Open Business a year ago when the pandemic started. Since then, the global pandemic has pushed the purpose discussion into expectations of concrete actions with a high degree of media, investors, and other stakeholder scrutiny on companies' actions. The pandemic brought to the fore integrity risks as companies and governments rush decision-making. Specific issues such as procurement, lobbying, and tax payments by companies have been highlighted as a result of the pandemic. Companies, governments, including the UK government, and institutions have made commitments to build back better. We need to ensure this includes anti-corruption disclosures. As an insight to our Open Business report, I will briefly outline 3 main drivers for corporate transparency. There are, of course, others. Investor pressure. A number of investors expect companies to manage anti-corruption risks to publicly disclose on their anti-corruption efforts. They expect these disclosures in order to understand how the issue of corruption may affect the performance and the prospects of companies and markets. They also want to know what steps companies are taking to address these challenges in their long-term business strategy. Legislative requirements. A developing legislative environment is one reason why companies choose to disclose information. Due to laws such as the UK Modern Slavery Act, we see that companies are currently much more explicit about the information they disclose on the way they manage modern slavery-related risks than on their efforts, for example, around anti-bribery and corruption risks. However, legal obligations such as the European Union Non-Financial Directive, which is currently undergoing a revision, or, for example, the implementation of the European Union Fifth Money Laundering Directive, are applying increasing pressure on companies to disclosure around these matters. The third driver is the importance of stakeholders' societal demands. Employees, the media, customers, and other stakeholders are increasingly coming to the forefront of companies' considerations. The statement made last August by the US Business Roundtable shows the concrete shift from a long-held prioritization of shareholders to a fundamental commitment to all companies' stakeholders. Let's talk about open business principles. Open Business calls on companies to increase meaningful disclosures on their anti-corruption programs, particularly with reference to the frameworks behind and implementation of their policies and procedures. Also, Open Business calls on companies to improve meaningful disclosures around beneficial ownership and publicly advocate for governments to adopt data standards on beneficial ownership transparency. We also, through Open Business, call on companies to publicly disclose all fully consolidated subsidiaries and non-fully consolidated holdings and state publicly that they will not work with businesses which operate with deliberately opaque structures. Also, publicly disclose the nature of work, their countries of operation, and the countries of incorporations of the fully consolidated subsidiaries and non-fully consolidated holdings, and publicly disclose country-by-country breakdowns of their payments to government. Finally, Open Business calls on companies to increase meaningful disclosures on their corporate political engagement, including around their control environment, political contributions, lobbying, and the revolving doors. The legal challenges. Having worked with companies since the founding of Transparency International, UK in 1995, we know that there can be concerns around anti-bribery and corruption transparency. For this project, we sought to specifically address these concerns by working with an international law firm who helped us gather legal insights to help companies navigate through the following challenges to disclosure. Privacy legislation as a potential barrier to beneficial ownership disclosure. Also, we looked into the legal risks of publishing alleged breaches of a company's code of conduct. We also looked into competition law as a deterrent to the publication of third-party information. As well, we looked into the difficulties of managing differing public disclosure requirements across jurisdictions. And finally, we looked into the practical difficulties of collating and publishing anti-bribery and corruption information. Open Business demonstrates that these challenges can be get over. Conclusion. To conclude, I would like to reflect on the aims of our Open Business report. The report aims to inspire and encourage companies to take significant steps towards anti-corruption disclosure across the 5 high-risk areas identified. Whatever your role, whether investor, company, employee, government, official, or other, I encourage you to look at our Open Business principles and see how you can push forward transparency within your organization or the organizations you work with. Significantly, we aim to drive corporate disclosures that not only focus on what a company says it does, but also on how a company implements, manages, monitors, and reviews what it says it does. Corporate governance discussions are now focusing on ESG matters. The 3 ESG factors are interlinked, but addressing corruption is crucial to improve social and environmental factors. Disclosures on social and environmental factors have increased, and there needs to be more meaningful disclosures on the way companies address anti-corruption risks. We anticipate that this guidance will serve as a foundation for better corporate practice by inspiring companies to become more transparent and demonstrating the commercial benefits of doing so. The question that companies need to start asking themselves is not why disclose, but rather why not disclose. Thank you very much.